Hey guys, Attorney Walter Hnot. Now we're going to be going through a video that essentially outlines one of the worst things that a supplemental security income recipient could actually hear. And these things are absolutely terrifying to those who are receiving these SSI benefits. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave 5-star reviews. I'm going to put in the chat section of how to do that and also in the comment section, which will be below the video after the live is complete. Now, one thing I want to do is when I go through this list, just a heads up, I'm going to start at the bottom of the list, the least scary, and then I'm going to go all the way to the top of the list. Howdy, Mariah Jane. Howdy, howdy. So let's get to it, guys. We're going to go right into it and begin the process. Here we go. Number 1. So this is at the very bottom of the list, right? The not so, well, actually, let's do it this way. Number 12. We'll start there. The sound of a transmission or engine problem in a car. And most SSI people either don't have a car or they have a car that was like a hand-me-down, or you bought it and it's got problems and you already knew it. So you knew like the car would only last this long. You can't drive it so far. Most SSI people have the type of car that's just, it's going to break. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be an issue. And they knew it ahead of time. With that said, the engine and the transmission, every SSI person knows who has a car that the two things they can't fix, they can't deal with, they can't have anything to like, get the machinery, get the new, whatever. They can't deal with those. At that point, they scrap the car, take the cash, save up for years to buy another junk car. So that's number 12. Okay, and these are the most terrifying things that an SSI person could hear or interact with in that sense. That was 13. Number 12. Your insurance will not cover that procedure. So one thing that a lot of these SSI versus SSDI, situations look at is that you have traditional disability and SSI. SSI is a program for a lot of things. It's a program for those who are disabled, those who are over 65 and in poverty, those who are refugees or immigrants. It's kind of like a payment of last resort. And then you have disability over here. Now, traditional disability gets Medicare, but SSI gets Medicaid. And Medicaid, when it comes to the heavy-duty medications, when it comes to the heavy-duty procedures, some things that are kind of outside the norm or something that isn't traditional, or it's just really, really costly, Medicaid, finding a doctor that's within plan who will do it, it's really, really tough. So even more so than the disabled are those who are disabled on SSI. And they will be terrified, basically, when they hear, actually, they won't be terrified because they're used to it at this point. But the first time they do hear it, they'll be terrified because they'll hear, hey, the insurance company will not cover that procedure. Number 11, your new tests show significant improvement. A lot of SSI people, although I would say less than the disabled group on traditional SSDI, but a lot of the SSI people know that if their impairments get better, that they will lose their benefits. Now, a couple of things are very classic about SSI people. SSI people haven't worked as much, or at least haven't worked as much in this country, or with a country that shares, benefits. A lot of people don't realize there's only like 2 handfuls worth of countries that we share our work quarters of coverage with. If you're outside of that, you ain't getting those quarters of coverage, even though you worked your entire life in some other country. And if you get forced to move over here as a result of that, some trauma or some problem over there, then you just lost all of your work history for a retirement program and a disability program, and you're stuck with SSI. So the first thing you need to know is that basically, when you see improvement, that means bad, because that means you lose your check, you lose your Medicaid. So that's really super scary. But let's go on to number 10. Number 10, your doctor is now retiring. A lot of SSI people, even more so than those on disability benefits, feel a deep connection to essentially those doctors who are fighting with them. SSI people usually do not have access to the top of the line doctors, the doctors that, are really in the fight with you. So when you find an SSI doctor that's willing to help you and work with you and try new things with you, it's really rare, more rare than those who are on disability benefits who have Medicare. So the reality is that these SSI people, they essentially go through this really tough situation of not knowing how to go ahead and find a great doctor, keep a great doctor, and then boom, once they retire or pass away, it's very traumatic for those individuals. Let's go on to number 9. So let's say that the SSI person gets a short form CDR. Short form CDR is, of course, when you get the shorter version of the document that they send you to go ahead and basically do an interview as to whether or not you're still disabled. It's a short form. The computer sends them out all the time. It's not a big deal unless it evolves into something where they want to take away your benefits. Okay. Number 8, your rent goes up. SSI people are used to this, but they're also terrified by it. Every time that month of the year pops up, SSI people become frantically scared as to how much their rent is going to go up. Ironically, one of the worst presidents we've ever had, what we have right now, has seen more rent increases, more extreme, inflation than we've seen from the Jimmy Carter era. And I'm not getting into the whole should we blame him, should we not blame him thing. You guys can figure that out. But the bottom line is people right now, especially on SSI, are in the most fear that they've been over the past 40 years about rent increases. And as a result of that, the SSI people, who still largely support the current president, are becoming more and more scared and more wary about what to do next. Now, we go on to number 7. They're very scared. The SSI group, those receiving supplemental security income, are extremely scared about an anti-SSI politician getting in. And I mean, look, I'll go a little into the politics. The Democratic Party is amazing when it comes to advertising for Social Security benefits. They got caught in a lie when it comes to essentially what the Republicans were saying with the 2022 midterm elections, which then hurt them a little bit. But the vast majority of people still firmly believe that all the statements that were being made about the Republicans taking away all of your retirement, all of your Social Security, your disability, and your everything, they still believe that that was what they were saying. Now, I'm not advocating on behalf of the Republicans right now. I'm just saying they got caught. The Democrats got caught in that one. But with that said, what's interesting is that if you consistently look at what's going on, you can see a really deep fear in the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party relies on essentially the impoverished vote. They rely on the race vote. They rely on the LGBT, the gay, bisexual, queer vote and things like that. And at the end of the day, they're starting to lose groupings. And a lot of the Social Security recipients are now not on the left side, but now they're on the right side. And as a result of that, what SSI people are going through is this really, it's like a weird, who do I trust? Who do I believe in? Which politician actually supports my endeavors? And we're going to be doing a video where we actually talk about why SSI individuals, when it comes to their benefits, are one of the toughest groups to defend in a legal sense compared to other benefits like retirement or SSDI benefits. So like if you went to go ahead and argue to a politician, or as a politician argue to the people, SSI benefits are de facto significantly harder to argue to the support of than they are for retirement benefits or SSDI benefits. We'll do a whole video on that. It's actually going to be today. It's after this video. So the point here is SSI people are in this who supports me? What do I do? Who should I vote for? Yada, yada, yada. And the Democrats have always been better at advertising politically than the Republicans. It took the Republicans until the 2020 election to even figure out how to use a computer, make memes, mass distribute them, etc. They're always a step behind when it comes to getting their message out there, which has been pretty fine for them for the most part, because their ideas, the Republican, household of ideas has always been one of we know what the model is here. We've done this historically, so we're going to stick with this and just modify it a little bit. Whereas the Democratic model, it's forward thinking. Where are we going? Where do we want this thing to be? Yada, yada, yada. And it's cool because you can study the differences between our Democrat Republican type government versus the Chinese government. The Democrat, government wants to, get more children to explore, essentially what gender they want to be. Whereas the Chinese government is trying to get rid of boy bands and make their men tougher so that they can go out and fight. So, army-based ideology versus kind of your classic, Greek, art and, fashion and yada, yada. And the problem is at some point the Persians attack. That's the problem. So do you want to end up in that situation, or do you want to end up in this situation, etc.? So what's happening is you've got these SSI people, they don't even know what to think. They have no idea which way to go. They have no idea what to do. They're scared. They're freaked out. So that's a big thing too. That's number 7. Okay. Number 6, you receive a letter in the mail that says you are going through a CDR and you know it is the long form version. So people know at this point when they get the long form CDR form, that means they're really looking into your benefits. They're looking to see whether or not you de facto should continue to receive your Social Security disability benefits. Howdy, Shirley. Howdy, howdy. Thank you so much for the $2.99 donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Excellent, excellent. Very good. So, love little pair with thumb. Very cool. So the idea here, guys, is that people are always afraid to lose their benefits. They're always afraid that their car's going to break. They're always afraid of what politician they're going to put in. They're always afraid to go to the grocery store and find out what the new prices are. Next one. Number 5, the doctor recategorizes a major diagnosis. So for SSI people, this one's really, really, really interesting. Most SSI people that I come across have a lesser understanding about how disability law works. It's more like a spiritual, I know I am, therefore it will continue. It's less, bullet points and law. It's more like a spiritual, text of ethereal doctrines of like, I believe, and that's the thing is that the SSI people, they vote based off of I believe, and the SSDI people vote based off of they did this in the history and they're going to do this in the future. That's the reality of how those two groups vote, which is interesting. I'm going to do a video at some point on that too. But the point is, when a doctor recategorizes a major, diagnosis, most SSI people are like, oh, well, that's why that is. Or maybe this is why this has been going on. Or maybe these symptoms make more sense. And a chunk of them won't even realize that their benefits are completely in danger because the thing they were found disabled on is no longer on the table. And now they have to do a recategorization in an 8-step sequential process at the SSA. So that's an interesting tidbit on how SSI people usually go. Remember, these are generalities. These are not like that particular SSI person that you never know. It's individual based, but as a category in general, SSI people tend to see why they were found disabled more in like an ethereal kind of like, yes, the stars opened up for me and this is why. And that's it's always been interesting for me with that. Now, next one, number 4, your doctor removes a major diagnosis. Okay, so with SSI people, and I say major because let's say that the SSA relied on it to find them, disabled for SSI. SSI people, once again, when that's removed, a chunk of them won't even realize how much that harms their Social Security benefits in their retention over the years, like being able to keep them going on. What happens, though, is usually SSI people, a lot of them believe that if they get better, that they will still be able to remain on disability benefits because they've been on disability benefits. One thing that is interesting is that when you look at and essentially study those individuals who have had benefits for a really long time versus those individuals who have only had it for like a year or 2 years, what you start to realize is that people who have had benefits, disability benefits for a really, really long time, they have an extreme expectation that those SSI benefits are going to continue, that they're going to continue to receive them, no matter what happens, no matter if they get completely healed, cured, whatever, they will automatically always get them. So what's a shocker is that we're starting to see 20-year, 30-year SSI recipients losing their benefits through CDRs, and their brains are just totally blown. They're like, how could this be? I have no skills. I have no workability, yada, yada, yada. How did this happen? And it happens because your doctor removes a major diagnosis. And so what happens with those is that they almost always end up homeless. And then you basically just have to refile them until basically they're found disabled again on something else because they don't have any skills. They don't have the work capacity. And some people will always argue, and I've heard this many times, well, they can still get this type of job or that type of job or this type of job or that type of job. And some of them do. But the reality is that a lot of people, when they make it into their 50s and they haven't worked for 30 years, getting them to go back into work, it's like their brain hasn't been conditioned to be a slave to the system of the American culture to make a dollar. And their brain just can't You know what I mean? It can't fathom having to do this stuff. So they just melt. They end up freaking out, blowing up, losing it on customers, etc. So that's what usually happens in those situations. And then they basically get found disabled somewhere down the line for anxiety or depression as a result of not being able to mentally handle the new stresses of what America requires of people. You know, remember, there was a time when people didn't work like this. You know, you go back 100 years, it was different. You go back 200 years, it was different. 300 years, different. You know, and then you go much farther back than that, it's a very different world. But the point is, just at every 100-year increment, like, you know, we go back to the farm people, you know, they would have entire months off because they were waiting for the crop to grow to do this, and they just didn't have to do anything. So it was just, but then on those days that they had to work, they had to work super, super long days for many, many months at a time. So it's just one of those things where this whole idea of like a 5-day work week with 2 days off, that's all BS made up poo. That's nothing special. That's just crap that we made up. We made it up because the idea was that one person in the family would work, which was the male, and then one person in the family would take care of the children. That was the female, and it worked. But now nobody can afford that because our politicians have ruined our economy, which seems to be what always amazes me, is that people don't realize that the wealth of the economy dictates everything else, dictates our strategy towards war, dictates our strategy towards taking care of the people, dictates our strategy towards building new housing, dictates our strategy towards having new laws implemented, new programs implemented. And yet all these people keep voting in people who don't have an understanding of the economy. It's weird. It's just weird. I don't, you know, but you can vote for whoever you want, but it's just weird. You know, to somebody like me, it's just weird. All right, next one. Number 3. And this is one that pops up a lot for SSI people. When I say this, it's going to trigger some of you. So I want you to understand that right up front. So David Gray said, I do okay on SSDI. Okay, so there you go. Mike Malone said 1,364 on SSDI. Let's see, Danny, Texas Advocate. Howdy. How you doing? So basically number 3 is, and this one, man, people, their whole lives get flipped upside down on this one. A neighbor tells you, the SSI person, that they are going to report you, to the SSA. Oh, man, let me tell you, you don't know how many people call me. My neighbor said they saw me walking my dog, and they're going to report me to the SSA. I'm freaking out. What do I do? How do I hide the body once it's gone? You know, one of those kind of gigs. So the reality is this, OIG, that's where it goes for the fraud department. Basically, and then it goes to CDRs and CDI units and stuff like that. So what happens is this, some neighbor will get pissed at the SSI person. It could be cultural. They're playing loud music. That one pops up a lot. Just as a heads up, if you're playing loud music, and I'll just say a couple, hip hop, country, pop, rap, whatever. If you're playing loud music all the time in the middle of the night, you're going to piss off somebody. And that somebody is going to want retribution against you. And once they find out that you're getting a check every month, right? And that's why you don't go to work. That's why you're up at night, right? They're going to go ahead and try to attack you because they go to work and they're miserable. And I can definitively tell you more miserable than you. And so the problem you're going to run into is that they're going to start to get that evil eye going on where they're going to try and find a way to just destroy your life, get you out of the neighborhood, destroy whatever culture you are, whatever. They're going to play that game. So what happens is you're going to get reported. And if they say to you personally that they're going to report you to the SSA, they've already reported you. That's it. They've already reported you. If they say that they know somebody who's probably going to report you, they know somebody in the neighborhood who they've already reported you. What you have to worry about is, yes, the one report, but what you have to also worry about are multiple people that can testify against you. Because you get multiple people that can testify against you, you better believe they're going to do a CDR, and they're going to hire a detective to go out as part of a CDI unit to investigate you. Okay. So that's number 3 on the list. We're getting close to the top here, guys. We have now number 2. The Social Security Administration stated that there's been improvement and therefore your benefits will be terminating. So this is when they go and say, look, we did the 8-step sequential process. Your impairments have improved to the point where we don't think you're disabled anymore. They're killing off your benefits. You go into a tailspin. You get like 10 days to figure out, hey, am I going to keep my benefits going? you go into this like, I can't work, I don't know how to work, how do they not realize that? You go through all of this craziness as Sweetie, my chubby dog, just pushes me around under the table. So with that said, what you've got to realize is that you have to, we got a furry bagel. Well, you can't fit, Sweetie, over here. Okay. Over here. Oh my God, you're so chubby. Come here. Scoot your bagel butt. All right. So the way it works is this. When essentially they remove your benefits, that person who is accustomed to getting, and remember, some people who will watch this video have never been on a government benefit before. Most of you who watch these videos are on currently a government benefit, but most people who watch these, or some people watching this video, they don't get a check every month. Imagine that just for a moment. Money doesn't magically show up in an account every month for that person. Just imagine that. Like me, there's no magic money. Imagine that. Somebody watching this video, money doesn't show up magically in that account. So what happens is that that person who has the magic money every month coming in doesn't see it, knows it's not coming. They got bill after bill after bill after bill. And remember, SSI people, they don't have enough money. So they play the game of this month I have to buy this, so I won't pay that bill, that bill, that bill. So then the next month I'll try and recoup and pay those. They're always stuck playing the game to catch up. That's the reality of how it is. All right, number one, this is the biggie. This is number one, the biggest one of all, is that the impairment that the SSI person has become end stage terminal or requires settling your affairs. What I'd like to point out about this one, which is similar to the SSDI video I made, is that a lot of people who are stuck in this situation, some people from outside that situation, because remember, when you go into that situation, you just joined the terminal club. And the terminal club, only they get it. Only they get it. They're the only ones who get it. But one of the things you should know about that club is that when essentially you enter that club, the amount of people that actually make it out of that club is this big. It's super tiny. They advertise those people all the time. Oh, I beat cancer. I beat this, right? But the grand majority of those people pass away because medically that's how it works. And that's how it continues to work until we get better medicine. So what happens is people outside of that, the terminal is reality situation. They're like, well, you could beat it because that billboard said that the hospital could beat it, right? But what you're not seeing is that that person feels terrible, hates their life right now because of this whole situation. And basically, some people are fighters, some people are not. But a lot of the fighters pass away no matter what happens, which is why it sucks. It's not a good situation. That is what causes the greatest fear, which also reduces the body's ability to fight things off, which creates a more likely terminal situation. These are the top, 13, we put the list to, items that essentially people fear when on SSI benefits. I'm going to be doing the top 10 things for SSDI, top 10 things for SSI that people love to hear as well. These are the downer videos. The upper videos are coming soon. Okay, I will catch you a little bit later. I'm going to be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. Hang in, guys, and I'll catch you shortly. All right, thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.